Did you know Milwaukee is a city for the birds? It's actually one of 82 official bird cities here in Wisconsin. Bird City is a conservation program that brings folks together to create healthier communities for birds and people. Brian Lenz is the Bird City Network Director for the American Bird Conservancy. He says Bird City first started in Wisconsin and has since expanded across the country and internationally. Lake Effect's Excret Nunez spoke with Lenz for this month's Chirp Chat to learn more about the program.
Anyone who has walked nature trails in Wisconsin, including the Milwaukee area, has likely noticed the recognizable green and yellow Bird City, Wisconsin signs. But I've always been curious what they stand for. Brian, can you explain what a Bird City is?
A bird city is a community that takes action to benefit birds, and when they do it, it makes the community better for both birds and people. I view Bird City as an action guide. There are a lot of people out there who aren't really happy with what they see happening in the natural world around them. They don't really know where to start, though. And Bird City is a set of tools and actions that anybody can put into place to be a conservationist where they live. You don't have to solve the world's problems yourself. You can solve them where you are.
And, Bird City is a program that originated, I believe, 16 years ago in 2009.
Correct.
So it started right here in Wisconsin. Can you tell me more about how this program started and how it's evolved since then?
The initial idea came from a group that is now called the Wisconsin Bird Conservation Partnership. And way back in 2002, I believe, they have an urban habitat subcommittee that kind of started kicking around the idea of what would it look like if we took the Tree City USA model and made it for birds. Birds are really popular, so they figured they could ask a lot more. It took a number of years, as you mentioned, to get it off the ground. And Wisconsin's was first. And other states around us started kind of looking over the border and going, oh, that looks cool. I think I'd like to do that too. And so we kind of helped it grow organically. Wisconsin is a very birdie place with a bunch of people who really care about them. Fish and Wildlife Service did a survey a number of years ago. They do it every 5 years, where they estimated how many people birdwatch in every state. And 33% of people in Wisconsin, which is the second highest in the country, are into birds. So we've had a long history of ornithology and bird watching.
That's amazing. And so you mentioned that this Bird City program has expanded way outside of Wisconsin. How many communities in Wisconsin have been recognized as bird cities?
It ebbs and flows over the years. Right now, I believe we are at 82 that are currently active. When I joined American Bird Conservancy in 2018, I had two missions. One was to work on glass collisions, which kill 1 billion birds a year and is something that Bird City communities work on. And the second was to take Bird City and grow it. So we have our program coordinator, Joanna Eccles, who is in charge of taking the Bird City idea and seeing if we can get every state to have their own Bird City program. We do this whole thing with our partner, Environment for the Americas, which is the home of World Migratory Bird Day, another thing Bird City communities do. And they lead the international effort. So I believe we are up to 10 U.S. states at the moment, and Colombia, Brazil, Mexico, with Caribbean and Panama coming soon.
Wow. I think that's absolutely incredible, and it seems like a lot of partnership work to get that done.
Partners really drive the whole thing from the top to the bottom. So in communities, we are trying to foster people talking to each other. It's hard to document, but we see it in practice and happening all the time. The goal with the community application is that the librarian can work with the teacher who can work with the bird club and the garden club who talks to the forester, and then they go get the elected officials to pass a resolution, and they all work on these things together. And while it seems like all of these folks would know each other, they often don't. And so we really can see a pretty strong growth of what happens just by getting the conversation started.
That's a really great way to put it. So walk me through some of the steps it takes to become recognized as a Bird City community.
Well, the first thing you have to do is know about it and know that you can do it and that it is for you, no matter who you are. And then we would say, check out the website, which is birdcitywisconsin.org. And on there, it will give you that list of actions that we ask communities to take. And it is not a bunch of requirements. There are actions in habitat, reducing threats to birds, education, and sustainability. And then within those 4 categories, there are a lot of options, and you pick the ones that are right for you. When you open up the action list, it might seem like, holy cow, there are a lot of actions on here. But the goal is to meet people where they are and to have there be next steps for everybody to take. So when you kind of started to feel it out, you can reach out. There's a Contact Us button on the website, and that will take you to Bird City's director, Kelsey Bell. The Bird City, Wisconsin program is currently housed at Lake Michigan Bird Observatory, so that's one of their pillar programs, and they're doing a great job with it. So Kelsey will be very, very happy to hear from you.
And what are some of the benefits that come with becoming a bird city?
There are quite a few. One of them is just straight community pride. Everybody wants to be proud of the place they live. So the street signs and the recognition, and we give you a website and flags and plaques, and you're now on a website that is hemisphere-wide. And so you're on the map if you're a bird city. We've added a tourism platform too, so you can put in where to go birding and where to stay and other attractions, and then you're on that map. Birders spend money, birders travel, so there are quite a few reasons to do it. In addition, it's good for birds, and anything that's good for birds is good for people. There's study after study that shows, positive mental health benefits of green space. Even in winter when the trees have no leaves, it's still good for you. And bird song, same thing, a lot of mental benefits. Property values are higher where there are more birds and where things are greener. There's a lot of reasons to become a bird city.
I'm wondering, what are some examples of projects that have come out of Bird City, Wisconsin that you're particularly proud of or that you share with other cities as an example to look at?
There are a number of things. One of the few requirements that we have is that every community hosts a World Migratory Bird Day event. And that is a program of the ABC partner, Environment for the Americas. And it is an annual conservation education event where they have a different theme, and Bird City's doing this in different ways. Some host a bird walk, some will set up at a festival, some will have a speaker. But it's all things that wouldn't happen without this. And every single year we have, at the moment, 82 of those. And so that makes a really big impact when you add those up. The city of Madison passed the state's first bird-friendly building ordinance, which was great. Madison is a great bird city. They're working with the campus too, UW-Madison, on a lot of different collisions activities. One of the other things is 1 billion birds a year die after hitting windows in the U.S., and so you can build new buildings so it doesn't happen. But even if you gave me every single new building and said, Brian, we'll build this exactly as you want, we still kill 1 billion birds a year until we've changed all of the glass. And so you go around and monitor to figure out what the worst places are so that you can then try and get the worst windows addressed. And so the Urban Ecology Center is part of a team working on that in Milwaukee to try and identify the worst spots so we can ask to have them fixed.
And that's something people can be a part of.
Everybody can do that, yep. And home windows actually are just under half of the problem. So a big building somewhere might kill a lot of birds every year, while your home might kill 2, 5, 10 a year. But with the number of homes there are, that 2 or 5 or 10 a year adds up to a lot. So everybody out there can treat a picture window, their sliding patio doors. If you've heard a thud, you need to fix that window. And there are a lot of products out there to do that.
Absolutely. And like you mentioned, you work with the American Bird Conservancy and glass collision prevention in Wisconsin. Can you tell me a little bit about the work that Milwaukee has done, like the Pfizer Forum?
Yeah, that is actually a pretty good marriage of everything we have just talked about. I was the director of Bird City, Wisconsin from 2014 to 2018, and I heard the Bucks were going to build a new arena, and I saw what happened over the border in Minnesota where they didn't build a bird-friendly Viking stadium. Let's not make the same mistake here. And so I actually was able to advocate for it using all of the bird cities to write a letter and saying, bird conservation is really an important issue in Wisconsin. Look how many communities we have, including Milwaukee and at the time Milwaukee County as bird cities, all of the surrounding areas. I said, 33% of people hear bird, which means 33% of the people at a minimum walking through the doors of Pfizer Forum when it opens are going to care. You guys have to do this. And they said, sure. So Bird City really proved to be, as a whole, a pretty powerful advocacy tool.
Absolutely. That is so powerful. And also, you mentioned earlier, too, the Madison Ordinance for bird-friendly glass. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, there are a number of cities around the country and in Canada as well that have bird-friendly building design ordinances. So basically, you can design a building that shouldn't kill birds. How you use glass, how you cover the glass up, and then adding small patterns that people don't usually notice to the glass that you do use. It will make birds not fly into those windows. A lot of the work ABC has done and that others in the collision space do is one building at a time. Fiserv Forum was great, but I spent 3 years working on Fiserv Forum with the team and the building managers, and they were all terrific, but we got one building out of it at the end. It was definitely worth it, but one building at a time isn't enough to save a billion birds. So you need something bigger, and Madison took that step and adopted a bird-friendly building design ordinance where you write a set of rules, you write the menu, you provide the ingredients, and then the developers and architects design to the law.
Well, reflecting on everything that we've talked about so far, what do you think has made Bird City, Wisconsin work so well and stand as this model program for other cities and other states?
I think a lot really comes back to everybody wanting to make the place where they live better. And there not really being a whole lot of clear steps out there for you to do that. Bird City, when you discover it, is empowering. It's something where you see how you fit in, you see the reasonable things you can do, and you know you'll make a difference if you do them. So I think when you boil it all down, that has been a really big reason for its success.
Well, for people who might be interested in getting involved with this program, or having their community earn Bird City status, how can they do that?
The best thing would be to go to the website, which is birdcitywisconsin.org, and click that big blue Contact Us button in the upper right corner. Not long after you send that email, Bird City, Wisconsin's director, Kelsey Bell, will write you back, very excited to be hearing from you.
I can attest to that. Well, Brian, before we wrap up, at the end of every Chirp Chat, I love for guests to shine a spotlight on a bird for the month. So not to put you on the spot, what's a bird you'd like to highlight this month?
That is a great question. I have a very small yard, and so I'll use the last bird I added to my yard list, which is also one of my favorites for the state, which is the red-headed woodpecker. It has a super bright red head, a complete red head. There are people who confuse red-headed woodpecker with a couple other birds, and then once you've seen it, there's no confusing it with the other ones. And then pretty striking black and white contrast for the rest of its body. That is a bird that is getting less common every year and has really been declining in the state. And it's one of the most striking birds that I think we have.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to add that maybe I didn't go over in our interview?
There's habitat sustainability, threats to birds, and education. And within those, there are a lot of different kinds of actions people can do. We talked about collisions a little bit. One of the things where we are trying to make some progress that is very, very challenging is with the issue of outdoor cats. Outdoor cats kill 2.4 billion birds a year in the U.S. and 12 billion mammals. It's kind of a two-pronged problem. There are fully outdoor cats that people feed and take care of. And then there is the letting your cat out to just go outside and hunt. It is a difficult issue to work on because so many people feel pretty strongly about letting their cat out. So we're still trying to figure out the right answer to that. But our Bird City communities are interested in this issue and are working with us to try and figure out how we better address it. One of the other things is native plants. Most communities have somebody who manages their trees, their habitat, their parks, and there are small changes you can make to your standard practice that will increase the benefits of your plant community for wildlife.
Brian, thanks so much for chatting with me today. I really enjoyed this conversation and learning more about the story behind the Bird City, Wisconsin signs.
Thank you very much.
Brian Lenz is the Bird City Network Director and Glass Collision Program Director for American Bird Conservancy. He's also the Steering Committee Chair for Bird City, Wisconsin. He joined Lake Effect's Excret Nunez for a monthly series we call Chirp Chat.
These days, there's so much news, it can be hard to keep up with what it all means for you, your family, and your community. The Consider This podcast from NPR features our award-winning journalism. 6 days a week, we bring you a deep dive on a news story and provide the context and analysis that helps you make sense of the news. We get behind the headlines. We get to the truth. Listen to the Consider This podcast from NPR.